Good afternoon. I'm Dennis Galucki, and welcome to the 446th Imagine Greater Buffalo program and another virtual Imagine lecture hosted by our wonderful Buffalo and Erie County Public Library. Thanks so much for joining us today. This program is created by the Center for the Study of Art, Architecture, History, and Nature, and ImagineLifelongLearning.com. Now, we're going to start with our speakers shortly, but first, a little housekeeping. Everyone watching will be muted during our speakers presentation, so if you do have a question, please type it into the chat box and we'll get to as many as we can. This program is being recorded, so you'll be able to watch it again later on the Downtown Central Library's Facebook page and YouTube channels, and we hope you share the link with your friends and networks. Today's featured speaker is pinch hitting. Simone Ragland was not able at the last minute to join us, so she asked a board member, Lisa Brosnick, a board member for Western New York STEM Hub. Lisa is graciously filling in for Simone, and we appreciate her last minute efforts greatly. Lisa Brosnick is a master teacher emeritus at Buffalo State College in the Science Education Department. Her professional career includes over 20 years of teaching high school biology and AP biology. In 2007, she was named the Western New York Science Teacher of the Year from the American Chemical Society. In addition to her work with Western New York STEM Hub, she is an active member of the Science Teachers Association of New York State. Western New York STEM Hub is a fairly new organization, new in the last decade, and it has had a wonderful impact. And that's why I wanted to make sure this archival program on the Buffalo and Erie County Public Library's YouTube channel includes this story. It's important. The fourth Tuesday of the month, we feature nature and science, and we've been emphasizing the theme of community sustainability. What does that look like from many different angles? So now we're going to hear how it looks like from the group Western New York STEM Hub and from Lisa Brosnick. Lisa, take it away.
Thanks, Dennis. First, it's a pleasure to be here, and it's a pleasure to pinch hit for Simone. I'm happy to step in when needed. So let me start with sustainability first. I'll answer that question, and then we'll go into a little bit about STEM. I think it's my passion, so we'll get into that as quickly as possible. But in terms of sustainability, there's a lot of ways we can really think about sustainability. And one of the ways we can think about that is, how do we sustain our community as a community? And we all know that, we educate our kids, they grow up, and a lot of our kids leave the area. They find better paying jobs or jobs that they're interested in somewhere else. And our community over the years has dwindled. And we've talked about this revitalization of Buffalo. And that includes keeping our people here and enticing other people to join our community. And so to try to keep our kids here, we want to engage them in all aspects of STEM. We know our area is a STEM employee hub. There are good paying STEM jobs in our area, and we want to keep our students here. We want to keep our young adults here, and we want to entice more people to come to our area for the jobs that are here. How do we do that? We need to get them excited about STEM. We don't want to turn them off, right? We want to keep them here and say, look, the jobs are here, the pay is here. Let's revitalize Buffalo together. And that's one way we can look at it from an employment standpoint. Of course, there's the science of sustainability, and STEM Hub is key in that as well. We have one program that looks at how do we fuel our future? What does our future energy sources look like? And it's sort of a competition that students are engaged in to reimagine energy and what that might look like to sustain a community in that way. So we have programs to look at that science of sustainability, but I like to think about it as just part of that revitalizing and keeping the community vibrant by keeping our people here once we educate them. So I'll share my screen. I have some data kind of about why STEM. And I think that this is kind of important. I go to work at Buff State every day, and there's a billboard, and it's a couple of birds. I think one is an owl, and it says, "Can you STEM? She can STEM." And there's no description there. So if you don't know what STEM is, you're driving by this billboard and you're sort of at a loss for what is this telling you? So first, STEM or STEAM. STEM is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And STEAM adds the A for the arts. And I kind of prefer STEAM because a lot of people think scientists aren't all that creative. And in fact, it is probably one of the most creative jobs out there because you're constantly trying to solve problems that A, you didn't know existed 10 minutes ago. And B, nobody's ever thought about that as a problem. So there isn't a solution you can look for. So you have to be creative in your solutions, right? So getting at this creative aspect of it and really being able to communicate science and math and engineering and technology in a way that people understand it, that's where the arts, I really think, comes in. I think we've lived through a couple of years of realizing that scientists don't always communicate the best way. And so that being able to reach people through the arts, I think, is a really important aspect of STEAM. But when I look at some of the facts around STEM or STEAM, the Department of Labor and Statistics says that there is an 8% growth projection for STEM jobs and only a 3.7% growth for non-STEM jobs. So where are the jobs? The jobs are in STEM fields, and they're going to increasingly become STEM fields. Money always talks, so I like to talk a little bit about the money and why we want to encourage STEM to stay here in our area and our kids to go into STEM. Hourly wages are almost double. STEM wages outcompete the median earnings for other types of jobs in the United States. Annual earnings, $89,000 compared to $40,000 for a non-STEM occupation. And the beauty of STEM is that we're all not, you don't have to have your PhD to get into a STEM job. STEM careers are for everyone. Many of them do not require a 4-year degree. So we have several programs in our area in the Buffalo Public Schools. We have one out in Springville called P-Tech, where students earn their associate's degree as they're working through high school in STEM careers, in high demand jobs like electricians. And so there's this false idea out here that the student has to go get their PhD to get a good paying job in STEM. It's not the case. And I always like to just remind people when we're thinking about why do we have this huge push for STEM? Why does the STEM hub even exist? When students go to school, a lot of our schools are students that are in really technical careers. Most of what they learned their freshman year of college is out of date by the time they graduate. So how do you prepare somebody for a job that's out of date within a year? How do we prepare students for problems that we don't know are going to exist 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and be able to solve the problems that come up? That's the key to this STEM outlook on job creation and job sustainability. We need to teach our students how to live and how to learn at those intersections of your passion and what you need to learn about, right? I mean, it's a constant give and take there. And I think that's one of the reasons that STEM is really important. I have more slides on STEM Hub, Dennis. I don't know if you want me to continue, if you have some questions coming in.
Keep going on a little bit more, and then we'll entertain those questions.
Perfect. I just don't want to overstay my welcome, so to speak.
You won't.
All right. So our founding purpose was to provide enhancements across the K through college pipeline, right? We really wanted to bolster the next generation workforce. We have a lot of great STEM companies in the area, and they said, we don't have anybody coming for these jobs. We've got job openings. We want to stay here. We need work. We need a workforce. We need a pipeline. And so the STEM Hub was initially created to do just that. Our goal is to mobilize schools, key stakeholders like our places of work, and to develop our students so that we can maximize interest in STEM careers. Our main vision is that we empower students through life-changing STEM experiences. They're not sitting in a class, in a lecture, learning about science, learning about engineering, learning about math. They're doing these really rich experiences, and I'll get to some of those in a minute. And we are recognized internationally as part of a STEM ecosystem. We have all the pieces in place to make this work in our area. So you said that we are relatively recent. We are. In 2013, we were founded. Really, for the majority of this timeline, it's a volunteer organization. Everybody, all of the stakeholders get together on the board and make this function as best as we can. We were part of the Empire State STEM Learning Network, and that was out of UB. In 2014, the Western New York STEM Hub was incorporated as a non-for-profit. In 2015, the United Way became our fiduciary, and we were an initiative, quote unquote, a United Way initiative, which really kind of leapfrogged this into the big picture of Western New York. Since that time of 2015, we've developed our programs for youth. We became part of the STEM ecosystem. And realistically, in the last few years, even through the pandemic, we've just been trying to continue to offer this wide range of really rich experiences to ignite that passion for STEM, with a focus on underrepresented groups, females being one of the main ones. We see a lot of gains for females in STEM careers, but usually it's related to health fields. Females are well behind males in engineering and the more technical, what you would consider more technical STEM careers. So we do focus there. We've got a wide range of partners that you can see. I don't want to talk too much about that, but I would be remiss if I didn't at least show you the stakeholders that are involved in this. So some of our really premier programs that we're very proud of. The first one I have to talk about is Hand in Hand. This is an amazing program where students learn how to 3D print, but the lens that they're using is they're building a prosthetic hand for a local student in need, or a child overseas in need of a prosthesis. So our students come to Western New York STEM Hub, and they go from day one all the way through the end of producing this prosthetic hand on a 3D printer. So they have to learn, well, what's our problem? How do we even begin designing this? What kind of measurements are we going to need? How the heck do you get the hand to work? What are all the pieces we're going to have to 3D print? We're going to have to try this out, see if it works. Oh, that didn't work. That prototype didn't work. Let's go back to the drawing board. What do we need to fix? Let's print that again. And eventually they get a working prototype of what this particular student needs. And then they're involved in seeing that prosthetic used by that student in need. This is amazing. You look at a couple of the quotes here, right? Life-changing, inspiring. I was surprised at how much this worked, what I did in this program. The students really, the time that they spend here is amazing. And it goes back to that STEAM idea, right? Everything. I have to know the science of how a hand works. I have to use the technology of a 3D printer. I have to make it look kind of good. I don't want an ugly prosthetic hand. So the arts come in, right? Math, what kind of measurements do we need to take? And they're all guided, of course. The students aren't working on their own. We have amazing facilitators that work our students through these programs. Recently, as part of this program through COVID, we also had a group of students that produced a wheelchair for a student in need. in a very similar process using all of the skills that they had here. We also have the Girls Coding Project. So code is everywhere. It's in your device. It's in your computer that you're watching now, your TV remote, everything. There's code everywhere. And it tends to be a male-dominated world. So the Girls Coding Project is trying to encourage more female participation in this coding world. And the really cool thing about this is that through the pandemic, we were able to bring girls coding overseas to a group of girls in Ghana, which we probably never would have done had we not been forced to be on Zoom through the pandemic. So there's some really interesting pandemic stories of us trying to be relevant. We have our Student Space Flight Experiment program. I'm sure you've heard of NASA, and they have a program where students can design their own experiments, and winning experiments get taken up to the International Space Station, and the students then get data and can analyze the data about their experiments. And we are one of the hubs that submits experiments for the space flights. We have a lot of career exploration partnerships, a wide range of programs just trying to ignite kids and get them interested in these STEM ideas. So we have a STEM cafe. These are people working in the STEM field that come and spend an hour or so talking about their job, interacting with students on a Saturday morning. It not only empowers our students to want to do STEM, it kind of ignites the passion for STEM in our presenters as well. I think that's something interesting. And I'll tell you, as a teacher, it's so interesting because students have such a narrow range of jobs that are out there. I think back to the 50s when women said, I could be a secretary, a nurse, or a teacher, right? Well, our kids have that STEM, they have kind of blinders on STEM as well. I can be a doctor, I can be an engineer, not that they really know what that is. And I can be a computer person, and they sort of lose that. They miss all of the other aspects of STEM. And so by bringing in people that work in the field, A, students say, hey, I can do that. And B, I never thought of that job. I didn't realize that was a STEM job. I'm really interested in that. So just a few of the programs that we have going for us at the STEM Hub.
Lisa, that's a good place to, let's just see from Melissa if there are questions coming in before we proceed with further, because you've got a wonderful website that shows the mission and the vision and the goals and the reasons and articulates this. And I sure encourage folks to very simply put in a search engine, Western New York STEM and WNY STEM, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Melissa, how are we doing for questions?
So we don't have any questions right now, but there is a comment that we just had our Future Cities competition in our area on Saturday. So perhaps Lisa can talk to that because she looks pretty excited about it.
Oh gosh, there are so many competitions and programs to really engage students. And the Future Cities is, and I'm glad, Jim, thank you for putting the link in there if people are interested to see what that is about. But that again gets at this sustainability idea. If you were to see what the community would look like, how do you build a sustainable community 20, 30 years in the future? What would that look like? And the students have to think about all aspects of that. Again, bringing in it, I can't underestimate how much the connection helps students begin to see how to solve problems. They spend time in school in a science classroom, and then they go to their math classroom, and they rarely see the intersection. We try as teachers, trust me, we try to get out of the silo and get students out of the silo. But unfortunately, it doesn't work. We have a curriculum, and the students are just so programmed to go from class to class to class to class that rarely do they have these intersections. And programs like Future City, like Hand in Hand, like the Energize Your Future, which is the sustainability competition, really get students to use all of the skills that they learned in science class, math class, art class, technology class to begin analyzing problems and then solving them as well. What possible solutions are out there? And I think that's the beauty of the STEM Hub, is that we're able to provide those experiences where students can pull from all aspects of their education and really get involved in what their world, what they want their world to look like 10, 20, 30 years from now.
And
Very
another
good.
question, we do actually have another question. Can you talk about the Tech Academy at Seneca One?
I actually can't. I know a little bit, and in fact, I was at Burgard High School just yesterday, and Burgard has a similar program where they have the students kind of a in-house vocational program, and I know that they had some AutoCAD and a machine work, I believe, machine shop as well. So the students come to school and they go to these classes, and when they leave, they get a year of college under their belt by the time they left high school. And then it's up to them. Do they want to continue on to trade school? Do they want to get their certificate and go right into the workforce? Some of the students leave there and go right to Northland and continue their training at the Northland site, which I think is an amazing partnership between Buffalo Public and Northland. And you can see sort of that workforce pipeline coming. You can almost visualize the students moving through and then having really good paying jobs. And an interesting side note to Burgard, the teacher that I was working with, she said, we have students, we might not be city honors, we might not be Hutch Tech, but we have students wanting to come here because they see the program is leading directly to jobs. And so they see value in their education when they know that there's a job waiting for them when they finish the program, which is amazing for this area.
Any others, Melissa?
Those are all the questions right now.
Lisa, this has been wonderful. Let me give you a context from my standpoint. Normally, the Imagine program shuts down for the summer and moves over to Chautauqua. Chautauqua's been a different place for the last 2 summers. So what I did was decide to focus on sustainability last summer with a 10-week program, and then had all the speakers and called that the Imagine Greater Buffalo Sustainable Development Collaborative. I mean, just these folks. And then every 4th Tuesday going on, September, October, here through January, including today, to have the focus on nature and science and to keep that theme going. And then at least we have these archived, both videos and audios on Internet Archives. I put a separate audio on that so that for whatever value, we have a collective community approach to whatever the word sustainable development means. And it's coming from the public sector, the private sector, the not-for-profit, and the educational sector. And that was the spirit of that lecture series during the summer. Brian Higgins spoke. We had different not-for-profit groups. The Carousel is a combination with Tesla and solar, and we had the architect behind that speaking. So it's on my weekly invitation to join us on this program. You'll see the list of all those and a link to each one of those. So this will be added to that, and that's the context for the idea of how do we take Western New York STEM and then add the A, as you very nicely pointed out, to STEAM, because I think the arts and the creativity are an important element of this. And there you are at Buff State, right in the middle of the new art gallery showing up. The Birchfield is there, the History Museum right around. Our cultural heartbeat and soul, you could argue, is right where you are located at Buff State. Certainly other places too. At the Seneca Tower, we'll have a hub center of sorts, the technology hub center. But as we see what you're doing with STEM is saying it's about science, technology, engineering, math, and then STEAM with the arts. And it's the blend of those, I think, that really is going to lead us down a pathway to hopefully setting an example to many other cities of what a sustainable community could look like. We're at the beginning of that thought process, I think, but it's an organization like Western New York STEM working with the youth and incorporating the existing businesses, the ones you showed, M&T, Lindy. That's the power, the private sector with the education sector, with the not-for-profit sector, and obviously the public sector. Erie County has a sustainable department. We'll have them speaking on it in the future. So do you care to just to reinforce that notion? Are we on the right path with this thought process, at least, Lisa?
Oh, I think so. And, you mentioned something about our sponsors like Lindy and GM and Siemens. I think that I can't speak any less of that. I mean, I think I look at that and I say, here's companies investing in this community. That helps with sustainability, right? I mean, that we should be shouting from the rooftops that we have some amazing partners that look at Buffalo and say, we want Buffalo to work. We want to ignite Buffalo. And one of the ways we're going to do that is by empowering our youth. And I can't speak about that enough, because I don't think we hear that, right? We always kind of poo-poo the for-profit sector and don't realize that there are a lot of companies willing to invest in our area and make this the wonderful place we know it is to live, right? We all love living here. That's why we're here. I'm looking at the wind and the snow outside of my window here. And yes, the thought does cross my mind about what am I doing here, right? But we like our area. We're here. And there's so many wonderful things going on in Buffalo, and we want to keep that going. And I think we really are at the tip of the iceberg. I think or I'd like to say the beginning of the volcano. I mean, I would like to see this just bubble up and continue to build. There are so many wonderful places in Buffalo and that have touched the STEM realm. And we don't even realize that it's happening. I mean, I think about the Houtman Woodward Center, and if you can take a trip down there and just walk into their vestibule, you will see STEAM in action, because they have some amazing pictures that they've taken of proteins. You're like, what are you talking about? Proteins? They're beautiful. It's the most beautiful artwork a scientist could ever look at are some of these pictures, and we're hiring people, good paying jobs. It's a STEM field. They're doing amazing work, and it's right here in Buffalo.
Lisa, that is, thank you for reinforcing this notion. And I'm going to consider Western New York STEM Hub a collaborative partner as part of this, just with this presentation. My hope is that your network, I mean, think of the corporations you're talking about, and my goal is to connect these different networks as best as we can with the Imagine program, have it archived in the library's YouTube channel. But there's another private sector, or there's another not-for-profit group called Western New York Sustainable Business Roundtable, SBR. Just go online with those symbols, WNY Sustainable Business Roundtable, SBR will work, and you'll see the work they're doing. I'm not aware of many other communities taking the private sector, the business community, and for several years now, consciously trying to create some space where best practices can be shared, awards given, a lifelong learning experience, which we try to imagine with this Imagine Lifelong Learning idea that will almost help create a culture change. Capitalism is great, but there has to be sustainability on a global level built into it. And I think that's the challenge that lies in front of literally the world, but not in the world, we're here in Buffalo and Western New York. And that's why this program like Western New York STEM Hub, unique in its own right, yet part of a component of other STEM organizations, so it can plug into the bigger picture. I think it's so important to just have awarenesses of, we're creative people. We'll figure out how to go from here. But in the old adage that enthusiasm sells, Lisa, your enthusiasm has certainly sold me, and I trust will sell many others, that some good things are happening right here in Buffalo, and good people volunteering, board members like yourself, to make something happen. I just believe strongly in that idea and our strength. I love to say Buffalo, every city's and every community's got volunteers, but I sure think Buffalo has them in rich abundance. And that's the best I can do to observe. Any other closing thoughts?
No, I mean, I really think I've tried to give you a good picture of what we do. You know, if people have ideas, please funnel them through. You know, if there's a program you know your granddaughter participated in another STEM ecosystem, and you think it should be brought to Buffalo, let us know. If you work for the private sector and you're interested in partnering, you want to have more conversations about this pipeline and how we can prepare our students for, I don't want to say students, prepare our youth, really, as I said, for a world that we don't even know what it's going to look like 10 years from now. What devices will be here that we have never even heard of, right? Which create problems we didn't even know. Please contact us. We're always happy to engage in new partnerships and talk about ideas of how we can build a better community here in Buffalo.
And that's the goal in the end, sustainable and better. And that's why we imagine a greater Buffalo, if you will. It all kind of comes together. Lisa, you've been great. Thank you for what a pinch hitting role. That was a homer. That was a pinch hit home run as far as I'm concerned. So thank you very much.
Well, thanks for having me.
You're quite welcome. And thanks for the good work that you're doing, again, as a volunteer when you sit on a board, as you are doing. Next week, we go to the first Tuesday of the month. February 1st will be next Tuesday. Frank Kowski will be talking about close to home in the Richardson Towers. The very first exhibit that we're hoping emerges in those Richardson Towers, a Buffalo Architecture Center. That first exhibit, small but very, very impressive, a collaboration with Preservation Buffalo Niagara and the Albright Knox Art Gallery. And it's going on right now on weekends. So check PBN's homepage and you'll see the hours and times. But C-SAAHN has the privilege of helping to be a supporter of this exhibit. So I want to encourage everyone, it's up through April on any given weekend. I think it's Thursday through Sunday. Volunteers are there from the History Museum and the Art Gallery and PBN to answer any questions, but it's basically self-guided. And I encourage you to look in, check out that exhibit, and then mention it to others. If you like it, please get the word out. Lisa, make sure that your network is aware of this exhibit. I think they'll find it ties in nicely into a way of looking at Buffalo since 1940, and actually all the way back to its founding with the and growth after the Erie Canal. Great images, a great wooden layout of the east side of Buffalo, and the projected look of the Kensington Expressway cover that suddenly is taking on a high level of possibility and funding, given the current folks in the governor's office and in our congressional leadership. So stay tuned for that, because that's a STEAM and a STEM project if I ever saw one, and should be incorporated in your domain, Lisa. So thanks again, folks. See you next week if possible, and wish you well, be well, and have a good day.